Welcome, Flyers. My name's Mike Zegadlo. I'm the Chief of Police here at Lewis University, and I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking with you a little bit about our Lewis University Police Department and our public safety program and infrastructure here. The first thing I'd like to talk to students about is the fact that we have an actual police department here at Lewis University. So depending on what your familiarity is with campus public safety, some schools have a security department, some schools contract out to an outside organization. We have our very own police department. And contrary to some popular misconceptions, it is a real police department. So it's not like Paul Blart Mall Cops. It's actual sworn certified police officers that go to the police academy and have all of the same training and capabilities that a municipal police department does. So we work with other local law enforcement agencies in the area. We have the ability to make arrests and do traffic stops. We can investigate crime. We have access to police intelligence and police information sharing. It just makes having a police department makes for a more robust public safety infrastructure throughout campus. We have three different kinds of staff that work in our police department. We have our sworn certified police officers who wear a dark blue uniform, have a badge and a gun, and they have arrest power, and they're certified officers. Then we have our campus safety officers. They wear a light blue uniform. They're not police officers, but they respond to support calls and service calls. And they also serve as our dispatchers in our police communication center. And then we have our campus safety assistants, which are a group of students who work with the university with the police department, staffing the front desk, helping with special events, doing walking patrols of campus. One of the things that's nice about Lewis is that we don't have a lot of crime on campus. So much of the work that our police department does is in community outreach and community education and crime prevention programming. So we do a lot of proactive programming, including some nationally recognized programs like the ALICE program, which is an active shooter survival training, and RAD, which is a women's self-defense program. We make these available to anyone out in the community who's interested. You can go to our website, lewisu.edu/police, and fill out a programming request form, and we'll come to your residence hall or your classroom and deliver programming directly to you. Part of our crime prevention, part of our approach to crime prevention is understanding kind of what are the elements of crime and what does it take for a crime to occur. In order for a crime to occur, there's got to be three ingredients, essentially. Your bad guy's got to want to do it. He's got to have the desire. Your bad guy's got to have the capability, the ability to do it. And then there has to be an opportunity for the crime to be committed. Working together as a community, we can mitigate opportunity for crime to occur on campus by the way we conduct ourselves. There's a number of things we can do to mitigate crime on campus. We can lock up our stuff. We can report things that we see as suspicious. We can look out for each other and be alert to each other's safety. If you want to report suspicious behavior to the police department, you can do that by dialing 5911 from any campus extension. Or most of you will be calling us from your cell phone. So in order to do that, you're going to call 815-836-5911. 815-836-5911. Which I would recommend programming into your cell phone now so you have that number available to you. 815-836-5911. Additionally, we have call boxes throughout campus that have a red button on them. If you push that button, it'll connect you directly to our 24-hour dispatch center staffed by our campus safety officers. So if you're not near a phone or you forgot 815-836-5911, you can push that button.
What's the police department phone number?
815-836-5911.
Nicely done.
And it'll connect you with the police department. This is a map of all the call boxes on campus, so you're never far away from a call box on campus. Ultimately, though, the most powerful crime prevention tool we have available to us is each other. So the more connected or interconnected a community we are, the more friends you have, the more people you meet in your classes and in your clubs and in your residence halls, the more people that are looking out for you and the more people you're looking out for, the safer community we have. Couple of things administratively. Everyone's required to get a Lewis University ID card, whether you're a student, faculty, or staff member. You can obtain those ID cards by coming to the LUPD central office, which is located in the LRC, LRG 32. You're supposed to carry that ID card with you at all times. That ID card serves multiple different purposes. It identifies you as a student, but it'll allow you to buy food in one of our dining facilities, take a book out of the library, get access to sporting events in the rec center, etc. So having an ID is not only mandatory, but it helps you access services and resources on campus. Any student may bring a car to campus. If you do bring a car to campus, you have to obtain a parking permit for it. Parking permits are generally $180 per year, but we're going into the spring semester, so you can get one now for $90, which will be good until June 30th. You may obtain your parking permit by going to your My Lewis portal, and under resources, you'll see the parking permits button. If you click on that, it'll take you into our third-party software where you'll set up your parking permit account, put in your credit card information, and purchase your permit, which will then be mailed to you. As soon as you create that account and purchase the permit, it'll email you a PDF of a temporary permit that you can print out and put on your dashboard until your sticker arrives in the mail. All of our parking lots are divided up by faculty, staff, commuter, or resident. So as long as you park in a parking lot to which you're assigned based on your permit, commuter or resident, you shouldn't have any problems. We always have a place to park. So it may not be convenient. It may not be right next to the building where you need to attend class. You may have to walk 3 or 4 minutes on our beautiful tree-lined campus, but we encourage you to park legally and avoid getting a parking citation. A couple of things related to student conduct and student behavior. All of you are responsible for being familiar with the student handbook, which is available at lusu.edu/handbook. I'll give you a couple hints on the handbook. Everything in the handbook is basically common sense. So if you're conducting yourself in a way that's respectful to your fellow community members, that is lawful, you're not breaking any laws, and you're just being essentially a good citizen, you're more than likely in compliance with everything you'll find in the student handbook. But I'd still encourage you to go and read the student handbook and familiarize yourself with it, because you are required to be familiar with the policies therein. If for some reason you find yourself in violation of student handbook policies, you may be referred to our community standards office. The way the director of community standards approaches students who are not compliant with university policy is to try to educate and develop those students. So the process of intervention is really to help students understand that there's a better way in doing things, and that we are all kind of bound by this common sense of rights and responsibilities. You have the right to a safe community that is conducive to learning and allows you to attain your academic goals. You also have the responsibility to help maintain that community, to behave in a way that is supportive of other people trying to achieve those goals. The other thing I want to talk about administratively very briefly is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which is a federal law that protects your student records from being viewed by anybody but you without your permission. This gets a little different as you transition into being a college student. If you're new to being a college student, as an adult, your student records are protected even from your parents. So if your parents should call me and say, hey, why does Mike have parking fines on his student account, I wouldn't be able to give specific information to your parents because that's considered a student record. So generally we want to work collaboratively with parents. So if your parents want to call and talk about your student records or your disciplinary history or your police reports or your parking tickets, or they want to call the registrar's office and talk about your transcript, generally you can sign a release for that, or you can come in with your parents and do it collaboratively. But if mom or dad just call in and say, hey, I want to know Mike's grade point average, we won't be able to provide that. There are a couple of exceptions to this. So if there's an emergency situation involving your health or safety, we can disclose whatever information is necessary to preserve your safety. If you're under the age of 21 and violating drug or alcohol policies, then there would be communication with parents on that type of disciplinary situation. Finally, with regard to student policy, we do have a policy in the handbook related to immunity in cases when a student or a student's friend is in need of emergency medical assistance as a result of drugs or alcohol. If you contact the police, you remain on the scene, and you cooperate, you will not be criminally prosecuted, and you will not be subject to referral to the student conduct process as long as you follow those three things. Call the police, stay on the scene, and cooperate, because it's more important to us to get medical assistance to someone who needs it than to be able to write a ticket or arrest somebody for drug possession. We want to make sure that if someone is in need of medical attention, that there's no fear of calling to get that medical attention because of the consequences that may follow. We're telling you up front, if someone needs help, if you call, stay, and cooperate, we will not prosecute or refer you to the student conduct process. Every year we publish an annual security and fire safety report. This is just an excerpt from the most recent report. A couple of things to point out here. This is a very safe campus. So our rates of crime are very low, as you can see on the chart here. We have little to no violent crime. The most common, we do have crime on campus, however, and the most common crime that occurs is theft. And as we discussed earlier, if we're securing our property and looking after each other, we can mitigate a lot of that theft that occurs on campus. I would encourage you to go to lusu.edu/police, and you can pull up a PDF of the annual security and fire safety report, which contains lots of detail about public safety on campus and crime on campus. Or you can stop by the police office and ask us in person, and we'll sit down with you and go over the report. Other things that the police department does, as I mentioned before, we investigate and report on our own crime. We have a lost and found. So if you misplace your laptop computer or your keys or your ID, you can stop by the police department in LRG 32 and check in with us. We have very honest students, so we have a big cabinet full of all kinds of cell phones and electronic devices and misplaced stuff. So come and check with us on that. We'll help you out with your car if you need a jump start or if you're locked out. If you want someone to walk with you late at night or any time of day, you can call us 24/7 and we'll send one of our personnel over to walk with you. More information on the police department can be found at lusu.edu/police. You can check us out on Facebook, at Lewis Police on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel with all kinds of interesting videos and trainings. And of course, we're also on Instagram. Normally, I'd take questions from the crowd if we were in a real life environment, but we're not. So I encourage you, if you do have any questions about public safety, to stop by the police department in the Learning Resource Center. Drop by my office. We'll have a cup of coffee. I'm happy to explain anything to you or answer any questions you may have. Thanks for your time. Welcome to the Flyer community. We're eager to meet you in person.